You're listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide to moving to another country, brought to you by SDC International Shipping, LA's finest. An international move is exciting. It's a time to start over, establish a new business maybe, reestablish family ties, or retire where your budget will do more for you. Please enjoy today's episode, and if you have any questions about your international move, give us a call at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962. All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Jim. Thanks for joining me for today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about remote work and how digital nomad families, yes, that's right, digital nomad families are redefining moving abroad in 2025. Now, imagine this. In the past, we've talked about digital nomads. And when I use that phrase, oftentimes we think about maybe a young man or a young woman traveling with little more than the clothes on their back, maybe throughout Europe or South America, Asia, or wherever. And they're living that single type of lifestyle where they're not tied down, they don't have a whole lot of responsibilities, and they're experiencing the world per se. But now, what we're beginning to see as time goes on is that the same individuals are getting married, they're starting families, and other people are doing this, of course, for the first time, meaning that they didn't start this journey in their 20s, but decided afterward, after maybe being tied down to a certain location, that they were able to work remotely. Their partners were able to work remotely, and they brought the entire family along for the adventure. So imagine this. Imagine that you and your family are living, let's say, in a quiet little village somewhere in southern Spain, and you're drinking your morning coffee. It's early in the morning. You're drinking your coffee while in another room, your partner is leading a Zoom meeting with colleagues, let's say, in New York City. And your kids, well, they're home too. They're in another room, maybe doing a science experiment or something like that, taking notes as part of their online homeschool curriculum. And so this type of picture, what may have once been looked at as a fantasy type of lifestyle, is now becoming a reality. It's the new reality for what you might call digital nomad families now in 2025. So let's talk about what it would take to make something like that happen, because we're seeing the rise of it right now. We're right at the beginning stages of this. Let's say the first generation in the modern era of the digital nomad family. Remote work, of course, exploded during the pandemic back in 2020. Now it's here to stay, and I know a lot of companies have said that they're getting rid of remote work and they want people to come back to the office again. Some argue that people are more productive in the office than they are at home. But I have to say that maybe that's so for the average worker. Maybe somebody who's with a company brand new, they're just there for a year or two, they need extra oversight. But for a skilled worker, for an experienced worker, for someone who's been around for a while, more and more companies are allowing those individuals to work from home. Maybe they come into the office once or twice a month. Maybe they don't come in at all. Now, where I'm making this recording from in Florida, we see people come here for 6 months out of the year, for 8 months out of the year. They come from all over the world. They come from Canada. They come from overseas. They come from other states within the United States to escape the winter weather. And they work remotely. They work from a laptop. They work from a desktop. They are maybe staying in a rental for 6 months or 8 months. Some of them have homes here and homes in wherever they're from. And I've noticed that there is no decline when we talk about remote work for these individuals. But the one thing they all have in common is they're all experienced. They all have been with their companies for a while. And that makes that detachment from the office, I think, more viable. In other words, these are people who've already proven themselves. So if we talk about a workforce in general, we talk about everybody working from home, you could see, and if you've ever managed people before in your life, people need some kind of oversight. In other words, if they know the boss is looking, whether it be remotely from a camera or by some type of timer or keystroke analyzer on the keyboard. There's different ways to know whether the person that you hired is actually doing their work, or whether they're, shopping on Amazon, or whether they're away from the computer altogether. And so most successful people are self-motivated. So we're talking about a digital nomad family. We're talking about, and let me just add this, when we're talking about families, I know a lot of people that are or go through the hiring process. They hire other people to work for companies or to work for their company. And one of the things that's a constant, and I don't know if this applies to women as much as it does for a man, but if you hire a man who's married, more often than not, that person is going to have do their responsibilities better or take more responsibility than someone who is single. Having been a young man myself before, not an old man yet, but I'm just saying, when you're younger and you don't have the responsibility, it's nothing for you to blow off a job or to blow off a day of work, or I don't want to say that you don't show up and you don't call, but in other words, the job isn't as important to you as the people that are heavily invested in that business. I hope that makes sense. And so when we're talking about men or women, if they are married, if they are raising a family, then they have financial responsibilities and they can't just disappear on a whim 99 out of 100 times. They're not in a position to do that. But anyway, the point is this: more and more families are discovering that they can live better, that they can say goodbye to the 9-to-5 grind while enjoying a new life abroad while working remotely. And people are connected overseas. For example, I recently read a story about a family. We'll just call them the Parkers for the sense of this episode. They were a family of 4 from Oregon. They relocated to Portugal last year. Both parents work remotely in marketing and software development, while they have 2 children who are involved in a flexible online homeschool program. And then on weekdays, they split their time between work and lessons and exploring local markets. And the Parkers say that the move has brought them together closer as a family. It's allowed them to live a healthier, slower paced lifestyle. And they've also enjoyed the benefits of having lower costs of living, a better work-life balance, and a chance to show their kids the world. And so where are the popular destinations for people who are doing this right now? Spain is one. Spain is known for having a rich culture and access to international schools. Portugal, another very popular location known for its family-friendly lifestyle, coastal outdoor activities. Mexico, also known for having a vibrant culture, affordable health care. Costa Rica, where families enjoy eco-adventures, I've heard someone put it like that, and lots of homeschool or homeschooling communities. All of these countries offer very strong expat communities, affordable health care, reliable internet, the things that are essential for remote workers. And for the kids, families are using the global online homeschool programs or joining the international world schooling hubs that allow kids to learn through experience. I can go more into that, but you can check that out online. So the question is this really possible? Can a family actually do this practically, or are these anomalies, the people that are able to make this work? The answer is yes, but it most definitely takes planning. Because first you have to think about housing. Many expat families, they use platforms like Nomad List or Airbnb to secure homes with reliable Wi-Fi, places with enough workspace, space for the kids. Time zones can be a little tricky, especially if you're working U.S. hours from Europe or Asia. But families often split their daily routines up to accommodate things like working early mornings or working late nights while keeping their afternoons free. As far as healthcare goes, most countries popular for having digital nomads and nomads in general, they offer excellent private health insurance options. So many digital nomads and people that have digital nomad visas, that now includes access to healthcare services as part of that visa. Education-wise, homeschooling abroad is not only possible, but it's flourishing. Programs like the Khan Academy, that's KHAN, another one is OutSchool, and even accredited US-based virtual schools, many of which offer optional testing, report cards, and recognized accreditation to assure that students stay on track academically, give you a lot of flexibility. And some families join local co-ops or create their own micro schools with fellow expats. So from language immersion to geography lessons on location, your children get to learn in ways that a classroom just can't replicate. So how do you move as a nomadic, quote, family? So let's talk about the logistics a little bit. Moving internationally in general can be complex, especially as a family. But this is where we would come in, SDC International Shipping. Because first, we're going to figure out what you need to bring. Many families don't move everything. Instead, they bring the essentials. Their furniture, their kitchenware, educational supplies, musical instruments maybe, and then they store the rest in the United States. Now at SDC, we offer coordinated international packing, we offer storage and door-to-door shipping, and that makes the entire transition smooth. So whether you need a full container or a groupage option for smaller loads where you share a container with other people going to the same place, SDC will help tailor the move to your specific needs so that you're not buying more than you need. You only need the services that your specific move requires. If you're a little bit older, you don't want to lift anything, you don't want to box anything, all the packing services are available to you. You can get as much as you want. International moving insurance, of course, is available so you can breathe easy knowing that your valuables are covered throughout the journey. Even if, God forbid, something unusual happens, that you're not left out in the cold. That's what insurance of any kind is for, but international moving insurance, it's very practical. Customs clearance is the other part of this. Customs clearance is one of the most intimidating parts when we talk about international moves for most people, because people are confused about what documents they need or they don't need, and it just doesn't have to be that way. Each country does have specific rules. For example, France requires a change of residence certificate. The UK uses a transfer of residency form. So in general, you'll want to be prepared with a copy of your passport, a detailed inventory of your belongings, a proof of residence in the destination country, and any work or visa documentation required by the local customs of that country. Now, if you're working with SDC, we'll help you navigate everything. You will have a relocation specialist assigned to you, dedicated to your specific move. We'll be handling the paperwork and coordinating with customs at your destination. Now, as far as education goes for your kids, remember to research your host country's homeschooling laws. Most places are very open to it, and most have global learning networks that are in place that your family can plug into. So, of course, those are things that you all want to take care of as you're in the planning stages, as you're considering making this kind of move or transition. So, families have been choosing SDC now for almost 20 years, coming up on 20 years now. And we also work with some of the larger, I can't mention their actual names for privacy reasons, but some of the biggest companies out there when they move individuals from one work location to another overseas or from overseas back here to the United States. So you're working with professionals, and of course, that's what you want when you're making an international move. SDC has moved thousands of families, and I like to look at the company as being more than just movers. We're also guides to a seamless, worry-free international relocation with facilities throughout the country, both the East Coast, West Coast, in-house consolidation services, global storage access, and a team that knows how to move families abroad. Just know that wherever it is that you're going, we have you covered. Now, if you haven't been to the website yet, you definitely want to check it out. It's at www.sdcinternationalshipping.com. And we've moved so many people to certain locations that are super popular that we've actually built websites dedicated just to those locations. For example, if you're moving to the UK, you can go to move from USA to UK.com. That is our UK site. That URL again is move from USA to UK.com. If you're moving to Spain, we have a site for that. Movertospain.com. That's MOVER. Movertospain.com. If you're going to Australia, it's moverstoaustralia.com. And the reason why we set up these sites is because there's a lot of information that's specific to each site. Again, each country has its own particular rules, especially with customs, what you can and what you cannot bring. I was just reading an article that we're getting ready to publish on our moverstoaustralia.com website, and it's amazing how strict the country of Australia is when it comes to what they allow and what is not allowed into the country. I wasn't even aware of some of these things and how the laws have changed recently, but so again, that's what we've done. But our main website, whichever one of our websites you go to, if you go to our main one at SDCInternationalShipping.com, you can get a free quote. You can call our toll-free number at 877-339-0267 to speak to somebody live, or you can chat. We have people there online that you can chat with. So today let's start wrapping this up. The thought of a digital nomad kind of family it sort of reminds me of stories that I heard in the past about people that were in the military, and they moved from place to place, and there was always a community waiting at the destination wherever they were moving to. And that's how the kids grew up, and they grew up seeing different places, seeing different parts of the world. Matter of fact, I was just thinking about a friend of mine who was in the Air Force. He was stationed over in Germany, and so his children were able to see that country when they were very small, and eventually they came over here to the U.S., settled here for a while. Now their kids are grown, but you understand that sometimes that's the best time in life for kids to have that kind of experience. And if you're in a position where you and your spouse are able to work remotely, it's something that you might want to check into. So whether we're talking about going to an English-speaking country like somewhere in the UK, it's not that you're giving up your American citizenship. You're going to keep your American citizenship. You're just having a different kind of experience, and you're able to bring the whole family along. Whereas if you think of what we consider the normal way families operate, you are in whatever city, whatever town that you live in, and eventually it seems like the family goes on its own way. In other words, the kids are off doing their thing. The father, the mother, they're working long hours, and the families really don't interact. I'm not saying this is true of every family, but many families, they don't interact, and that closeness just isn't there. Whereas if you look at the digital nomad family type of scenario, the whole family is together in a remote location, a different location. Of course, there's other expats there, which means there's other kids there, people that age, but they're experiencing something that, it could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And, a lot of the kids, unfortunately, today, as soon as they get out of school, whether that school is high school or college, then they're faced with the same real-world stresses that everyone else is faced with. They don't have the time to go on a 2 or 3 week vacation. They can't afford to, let alone have that vacation take place overseas. So it's just something to consider. It allows you to have all these various type of experiences and to have them as a family. So, all right, I think that wraps it up for today. This is Jim for SDC International Shipping. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead, share it with a friend. And that'll do it for today. I'll see you next Monday, and be sure to listen tomorrow. Laura Lee is back. She does the Tuesday through Saturday episodes. I'm here on Mondays. Again, thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening. Whether you're relocating within the country or moving to the other side of the world, we're here to help from start to finish. Connect with us today at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962.